welcome to the Business of Story. If you're an ongoing listener, thank you. And thank you for sharing these episodes with your world. If you are new to the Business of Story, I'm your host, Park Howell, and I am so delighted that you're with us today. On this episode, you will learn how to use the power of story to unite your people around a common cause. And you're going to learn it from a man who is inspired by his own mother and how she has used storytelling throughout her life to truly connect with and win over the people most important to her. A few weeks ago, I was doing some one-on-one storytelling coaching with Sabrina Hansen of Embark Behavioral Health, followed by a half-day session with her team. She was preparing her speech for their conference and had this line in it that I absolutely love. She said, "Be the best part of someone's day." In fact, I loved it so much, I pulled out my dad's old label maker, punched out the saying on a blue label tape, and attached it to my monitor as a reminder to be the best part of someone's day. Well, I believe our guest today, Tommy Mello, owner and operator of A1 Garage Door Service, exemplifies this sentiment and how he uses storytelling to connect with everyone, from his colleagues to his customers, and how he demonstrates the ROI of storytelling by growing from a single shop in Phoenix, Arizona, to a 100 million plus home service business with more than 600 people operating in 17 states. And guess what? They are growing.
The storytelling is amazing because people remember stories. They're not going to remember how much they paid. They're not going to really remember exactly what you did, but they'll remember the way you made them feel. And if you make them feel like they're the only person in the world and they're special and you relate to them, it's amazing. People will recognize me from 10 years ago and say, "Oh my gosh, Tommy Mello. I see your trucks. I'll never forget the time we spent in the garage together." I mean, half the time they want to offer me dinner. They want me to come over for Thanksgiving or Easter. It's a really special feeling because it's a connection that people feel that they'll never forget.
Tommy follows the philosophy of working smart, building the right connections, and being 100% committed to supporting his team in every aspect of their lives. He provides employees with business development, life coaching opportunities, and he spends a significant time on local philanthropic efforts. Tommy is also author of the book Home Service Millionaire and his new book coming early next year called Elevate. Today, you'll learn how to recruit, train, and retain top talent through how you first listen to and understand their story and then show them how you can make their career absolutely epic through how they share your story through their experience. You're also going to learn why storytelling is the lifeblood of sales and customer service, and Tommy is going to demonstrate it in action for you. It's amazing. Plus, he'll share with you his secret sauce to success that you can use in your own business. So please welcome to the Business of Story, Tommy Mello of A1 Garage Door Service. Tommy, welcome to the show.
Hey, excited to be here. Thank you very much.
So you are in the garage door business.
That is correct, since 2007.
And you built it from nothing. What, you were $50,000 in debt, and now you've got this multi-million-dollar operation. You're killing it out there. Let's start right from the start. Give us your quick backstory, and what do you think is like the singular thread in your success?
Oh, man, that's a loaded question. So
that's what I asked.
I'm from Detroit, so grew up there 16 years. And as a kid in Detroit, you learn how to shovel snow, mow lawns. And that was what I did. And I got a job washing dishes when I was 12, making $4 under the table because you're not legally able to work at 12. The story goes like this. My mom and dad got a divorce when I was 7. My mom worked 3 jobs. My dad was still heavily around, but money never came easy. So I did whatever I could to help out. And, there were days that my mom worked 3 jobs and just did whatever she could to make ends meet. And, my coaches, I was always in a lot of sports, so they take me make sure I got fed dinner and whatnot. And I moved out to Arizona at 16. I was pre-dental. I took a bunch of anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, organic chemistry, you name it. And the dentist said, listen, if you're going to be a dentist, you should probably get a business degree because he said, I'm 47 and I'm still in a lot of debt. So I took that piece of advice and I decided to get my master's in business. And I was flipping Bowflexes. I was flipping total gyms, flipping cars, bartending. I had a landscape company out here. And one of my buddies worked at a garage door company and said, can you paint garage doors for my company? And I said, I have no idea how to paint, but how much does it pay? And he said, I could get you $100 a door. You could probably do 3 in a day. So I learned how to paint doors. I painted 10 a day, and I called every garage door company in Arizona, and I was their primary painter. And I did 10 a day, 2 to 3 days a week. I was knocking out about $2,500. This is 2005. And I had another roommate that ended up working for a garage door company, and he was making a lot of money. So he asked me if I'd start a business with him. We didn't know what we were doing, and we got into quite a bit of debt because we went into a recession, as you know. The stock market crashed. The housing market crashed. We didn't know how to pay city taxes, so we got into debt. The yellow book kind of ceased to exist, and we had a big ad in there. We didn't know what we were doing. So I gave him kind of an ultimatum and said, I want to take this business or you could have it, but whoever takes it is taking on the debt. Hence, it was quite a bit more than $50,000. But 2010, I got my mom and stepdad to move out from Michigan. My stepdad got laid off in the automotive industry. You know, I'll tell you what, if there's a mistake to be made, I made it. Any mistake you could think of. And slowly but surely became an avid reader. I read The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, and then I read The Ultimate Sales Machine. Then I read The Richest Man in Babylon. Then I read Dale Carnegie. Then I read Napoleon Hill. And if you look behind me or know how much I read, I think I'm up to 1,200 books on Audible, and I read a lot of real books too. So I'm just a student for life, and it's been a fun ride. We're going to do 180 million this year. Wow.
So you really turned it around. So in all of that, you made all of these mistakes. In your learning of all those mistakes, well, let's do this. Let me ask you, what was the biggest mistake you made?
You know, I'll tell you, I thought a lot about this question because I get it quite a bit. And although I got a master's degree in business, I didn't know how important the financial aspect of a balance sheet, income statement, and P&L. And I'm a serial entrepreneur, but I should have known when to pump on the brakes. I should have been more calculated with my finances. I should have really understood what is a good balance sheet, what it looks like. Just everything from how you price strategically to what credit cards to use to the tax advantages like accelerated depreciation or the Augusta rule or a cost segregation study. Now I would consider myself one of the top tier financial in the home service industry. I understand this stuff like the back of my hand, and you got to be priced right. And usually what we do when we're younger in business, we don't know what we're doing. We find the cost average of whatever everybody else is charging and do a little bit more for a little bit less money. And now I'm a premier. I would say I give 10 times the value. We do drug tests, background checks. We drive new trucks. We've got great software. And, you know, I tell people, listen, my mom is the most dear person in my life. She's my everything. And she worked 3 jobs to save our house. And I tell everybody, if my mom were standing in your garage right now, and I look them directly in the eyes, I tell them, this is exactly what I would be doing for my mom based on your situation. Whether you're moving, whether you're going to keep the house forever, whether you care about your curb appeal or you're trying to go green, I'm going to do what's right for you. And I'm not taking advantage of people. My grandma helped raise me too. And, you know, she's in heaven now. But the one rule I have is we take care of people. We make friendships and we want to be their garage door person for life. It's very, very important to me that we take care of people.
That's the secret to your success. And you obviously really admired what your mother did for you. And she came in and worked for you for a while, right? And you had said that you learned a lot of your storytelling from your mom.
So I used to be the technician, obviously, in the field, and my mom would be on the phone, and she'd go, "Thank you for calling A1 Garage Door Service. My name is Gina. How may I help you today?" And you'd listen to her, and she'd go, "Oh, my goodness. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh, honey, we're going to take care of you." And literally, I'd be like, "Mom, book the darn phone call." And I didn't know it at the time, but when I showed up to the house, she'd never say she's my mother. And they'd walk up to me and give me a hug, and they'd go, "You must be Tommy." And they'd go, "Whatever the door needs, you take care of us, because any company like yours has got to be an amazing company." That woman that answered the phones is just so precious. And it just it taught me a lot. And one of the things when I'm interviewing is I look for eye contact. Do they believe in themselves? Do they tell a great story? Do they smile a lot? Are they ambitious? Are they coachable? Obviously, drug test, background checks. But, one of our rules is friends knock on the door, strangers ring the doorbell. We offer coffee on every job. I'm stopping off at 7-Eleven. Can I grab you something, an energy drink, a coffee? We play with the dog is the first thing we do. If there's a dog there, like I'm a big dog lover. I've got a dog named Finnegan. So we never say this is the cost. We say this is the investment. We never say this is the most expensive. We say this is the top of the line. We never say things like sign the contract. We say, okay, the paperwork. And my training program, we take someone outside of our industry, and in 2 months, they're a really, really great technician. And I'd say the secret sauce is finding great human beings and teaching them how to do garage doors. I'm not in the garage door business. I'm in the people business.
Yeah, and that's so important. And yet so many founders get lost in what they make, being in the garage door business. But you've got this realization that that's just a vehicle for something bigger to make that connection. How did you come about that? Did that come to you naturally, or was that something else you got from your mom?
There was a time when I walked up to my shop and my mom was working, and there was 3 people out having a cigarette break. People were stealing toilet paper. And the craziest thing, that if it could happen, it did happen. Murphy's Law. I just watched my mom struggling. I mean, there were times where she just lost her mind. And I just thought, these people, I thought I was the only one taking a chance. And I thought they were like, they didn't care. We had this darn coronavirus, and there was a line outside of my office here of people saying they wanted to take pay cuts. They're willing to kick in for the company. They turned in all their PTO days, and they were willing to help everybody. And at that point, it was very pivotal for me, because there's a book called The Compound Effect. And he said he wrote down 100 things he wanted to find in a woman that he wanted to marry. And he looked at his sheet of paper and he said, "Oh my gosh, this woman is so amazing. I don't think I could get a woman like this." So he wrote down 100 things that he needed to become to even be able to be worthy of a woman like that. Well, what I took from that story is I needed to write down things that I needed to become to be worthy of the people that I get to work with, my coworkers. So I put, 401ks, I pay for Aflac. We've got the Dave Ramsey program. We pay for dental insurance. We do more PTO than anybody. We take them on trips. We have breakfast all the time that we support for them. We've got Big Buck Hunter. We've got Golden Tee. We've got Cruising the World for fun games. Today we're going bowling. Ultimately, we hired a dream manager, and her job is literally to work with all of our employees and help them accomplish their dreams, whether that's home ownership, quitting smoking, putting money away to take your dad on a fishing trip, taking your wife out for a 10-year anniversary to Hawaii. But we really write down our dreams, and they're truly dreams. Find out where we want to be spending our time. And my job is to help each and every person that I get to work with accomplish their dreams.
So where did all of that come from? Because do you think, just naturally in you and how you were raised to be able to take care of your people in that way? Or is it something that you grew into as your company grew?
I definitely grew into it. I mean, I've always appreciated people, and I'd be nowhere without this team. We're pushing 600 people now, and we're going to 10 times this company. I think we're going to be the largest home service company in North America. We're well funded. It's going to be hard to compete with an owner that cares as much as I do, because I love each and every person. I help them get out of credit debt. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. If you got a will, I'm going to find a way. Ultimately, I think I was raised pretty well. I mean, look, I've dealt with the bad stuff. I could tell you my mom and dad got a divorce. My grandma had to help raise me. My sister hated men. I could tell you all the bad stuff. Or I could tell you my grandma was the best cook in the world. I had 2 Christmases because my mom and dad got a divorce. I could tell you that me and my sister became best friends. So I could tell you I'm a victim, or I could tell you my life has been a huge accomplishment. Everything that happened to me happened for a reason. I don't regret a thing. And there's 2 types of people in this world. And if the cup is a quarter of the way full, I think it's almost all the way at full. And I know that's not the analogy, but if life throws me lemons, we make lemonade.
Yeah, so you've got 600 people. How many locations, and are you across the country?
28 locations, 19 states.
19 states and growing.
And hopefully in 40 in about 18 months. We're accelerating acquisitions, and we've got a greenfield strategy to grow across the country. We've got a training facility that can handle 100 technicians per month. And it comes back to being a place where people enjoy Mondays. I tell everybody, you don't have to hate Mondays anymore.
Hold on to your earbuds, because we'll be right back with Tommy Mello. And as you've heard, Tommy is all about getting his team to play well together. Are you trying to do the same, but sometimes come off sounding like these guys?
Yes, now, on the St. Louis team, we have who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
That's what I want to find out. I want you to tell me the names of the fellas on the St. Louis team.
I'm telling you, who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
Do you know the fellas' names?
Yes.
Well, then who's playing first?
Yes.
I mean the fellow's name on first base.
Who?
I'm asking you who's on first.
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The first baseman.
Who is on first?
Have you got a first baseman on first?
Certainly.
Then who's playing first?
Absolutely.
You know how frustrating it is when your communications do not land right the first time. Now you can be crystal clear with all of your messaging using the and, but, therefore, Agile Narrative Framework. With the ABT, you cover all 3 bases of powerful storytelling, including agreement, contradiction, and consequence that our primal, pattern-seeking, cause and effect, decision-making, limbic buying brain adores. So you can avoid the who, what, and I don't know of confusing communications.
Now I throw the ball to first base. Whoever it is drops the ball, so the guy runs to second. Who picks up the ball and throws it to what? What throws it to I don't know. I don't know throws it back to tomorrow. A triple play.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't care.
Oh, that's a shortstop.
Learn how to apply the ABT now with our quick online course called The ABTs of Agile Communications, only found at businessofstory.com/ABT. Your messages will be clearer, more compelling, and safe at home every time. That's businessofstory.com/ABT. Now, back to Tommy Mello of A1 Garage Door Service. From what you've learned, storytelling from your mom, how do you use it in your business? Everything from, recruiting top talent, retaining top talent, and actually teaching them to go out and use story to help expand your enterprise.
I just want people to be very clear on why they're doing this, and it's to help people. And we've all got a story to tell. I tell everybody I want you to go, whatever market you're in, the first assignment is to go into that market, whether your grandpa raised you, your uncle, your mom or dad. I want you to go in their home and fix it and do everything you need to do to make sure it's safe and it's working correctly and put the best parts in. And that way, when you're talking to a client, you could say, my grandpa, tell them a little bit about the story of your grandpa and say, this is what I did for granddaddy, because I believe it's the best thing to do. And I always tell my guys, look, at the end of the day, you're going to believe in me. You're going to believe in the tools that we support you with. You're going to believe in the brand new vehicles and the training. The one thing I can't get you to do is believe in yourself. And I want you to look in the mirror every day and say, I'm a great person and I'm doing the best I can. That's what I look for, is eye contact. Do you stand tall? Do you enjoy smiling? And do you really, really get along with people? And there's a lot of people out there. If you were a busboy or a server, a bartender, or maybe you came from anywhere in the hospitality industry, that's a great opportunity for those people. And for me, it's just amazing to see a person, what they're able to do. They can make 6 figures here We show up the same day. We'll be there on Christmas. We'll be there on Sundays. We're going to fix it the right way, not necessarily the easy way. We're going to take care of the whole system. It's called the torsion system. And we talk a lot about great stories. One of my buddies is a great guy. He's a coworker in Milwaukee. Well, he had a lady. He went out and she wouldn't even look him in the eyes. She's like, I don't want anything from you. She's like, just fix the door. All of a sudden, a cat ran in. And he goes, oh, my gosh. He goes, is that your kid? He goes, look at my little Freddie. And his screensaver is a cat. And her heart melted. And all of a sudden, she's laughing. She's talking to him. She gave him a hug. And they found that magic moment. And the key to the success is really, people want to talk about themselves. How to win friends and influence people is you got to be a great listener. And you got to be able to find common ground. And that's what we work on. I'd say it's 80% just finding out how to make a friend and really truly be interested in that person and making sure that their needs are taken care of. And the other 20%, yes, we teach how to fix a garage door, but I could teach anybody how to fix a garage. I could teach anybody how to do HVAC, plumbing, electrical, window washing, you name it. The hard part is actually making a friend and looking out for their best interest. When we walk in that garage, we're a doctor. And what does a doctor do? He says, he takes your blood pressure, looks in your nose, your eyes, your ears, definitely sees your heart rate. And they say, listen, how often are you working out? How much anxiety do you have? How's work going? How's the old lady? How are the kids? What kind of diet are we doing? They diagnose the person before the problem. And I think that's the key is we got to really understand what your needs are and make sure we're going to do the right thing. And we give a lot of options because if you're not giving options, it's an ultimatum. And I don't believe in ultimatums.
Yeah, it seems like an unusual but a really terrific approach in an industry, and I'm going to tell myself an anti-story right now because we've all had our garage doors fixed once, twice, or three times, where typically you have kind of a knuckle dragger show up and they sort of gruff, say hi to you, and they go up and they do their thing and they leave, and then a year later it seems like the spring breaks again or whatever. It is not an industry you would normally associate with personality necessarily.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's really, we're trying to flip the home service industry completely a 180. I just, when I used to run calls, I didn't just get a Yelp review. I'd get a Google review, a Nextdoor review. I'd get a video on Facebook. I'd find out the HOA president. And I just tell them, listen, your garage door is fixed for good. It's a real warranty. Just don't let your 16-year-old daughter bump it and we'll be good. So we have a lot of fun. And I really enjoy what I get to do because I've really hired a lot of great people here around my weaknesses. And the Lord knows I've got a lot of them. And I always tell this analogy, no one here should have more than 5 direct reports. I say Jesus had 12 disciples, and that's the Lord. So we can't keep up with that. So we make sure we have an org chart, a depth chart. We've got a good plan. We understand capacity planning, making sure we've got a 6-month plan. And we're always trying to deepen our bench. We've got specialists here. We don't have a jack of all trades. We don't have a bookkeeper who does the bookings. We've got people that are dedicated to being the best at their trade, and everybody does performance pay. So if you're booking a lot of phone calls, you'll make more money. I don't believe in tenure. I believe in doing the right thing and doing your job great, and you'll be rewarded for it.
Tommy, can you take us to a moment when you really had that aha moment with the power of storytelling, and maybe even to the point that it changed how you communicated?
I've always told a lot of jokes, and I found that people enjoy that. But when you become a great storyteller, I talk at a lot of events. I'm usually a keynote. I got 2 keynotes next week. And when I tell stories, people remember stories. They resonate. So I started doing a lot of public speaking. I can tell you a lot of stories, but ultimately, I tell you, I knew I needed a new brand. I knew I needed something that said trust. It popped out. And it was very fragmented. My website didn't look like my vehicles, and my vehicles didn't look like my stickers or my yard signs, and my billboards were completely different. And I called a buddy of mine. He's one of the best branding guys in the world. He owns a company called Kick Charge, and his name's Dan Antonelli. And he wrote Branded, Not Blanded is the new book he just came out with. And he said, tell me a lot about the business. We talked for about 8 hours over the course of a week. And I said, those old days when you used to get your milk delivered and you knew the mailman and you knew the post office man and you knew everybody and you just had this trust factor. I said, I really want to be able to do that? And he goes, we're going to need some yellow pinstripes. I think I want to go red with your brand, and we're going to redo your website. We're going to make sure it's all coordinated. We're going to take an omni approach that everything sends a message of trust. And then we built a caricature. And so it's me as a caricature. That's such a hard word for me. But
I gotcha.
But now it really says trust. It says value. It says respect. We just believe that, our vision is to help employees dream bigger than they ever have and accomplish more than they ever thought possible. We're really focused on the people here. Obviously, the customers win if the employees love their job and they're having fun. And I think that's so important in our industry. It was easy to get a guy through 30 years ago. Now everybody wants to be an internet superstar. They want to sell stuff on Shopify. They want to be on Amazon. They want to drive a Ferrari. And I'm like, we're the big come up. People need blue collar workers. You look at it, and the average plumber right now is 51 years old. And the story here is get younger people in the trades. It's a great industry. You can make great money. We're going to help you buy a house and get out of credit debt and be able to raise a kid and put them in private school and go on the dream vacations and be home for dinner. And that's important to us. And you don't need to run 8 jobs a day. We like to run 3 per technician, and they're just amazing people. And, it all changed when I realized the brand didn't really say what we stand for, and now it does. And the real goal here is to do what I do for my mother, because she's the sweetest person in the world. And we're going to take care of you like mom.
Can you share with us one of your favorite stories? And maybe this is one that you're going to pull that you use in your keynote addresses. I would just love to hear how you tell those stories.
A few years ago, the call center, this is way before COVID-19 was here. And I was walking out in the call center, and one of the gals, Rebecca, says, "Hey, Tommy," she goes, "I really, really wished you would have been in here about 10 minutes ago. I didn't book a phone call, and I think you might have been able to book it." And I have not been booking phone calls in 5 years at this point. And I said, "Do you still have the customer's number?" And she says, "Yeah, I have it right here." I said, "Let's see if Daddy still has it." So I wrote down her phone number. I called up, and it was a client in Wichita. And I said, "Hello, Miss Jones. Tommy Mello here, A1 Garage Door Service. How's your night going today?" She goes, "Listen, it's not so good. My garage door is busted, but you're a little late." She goes, "I already called ABC Garage Doors. They're coming out here in about an hour." Now, it was about 7 p.m. in Wichita. I said, "Well, I got a guy. His name is Charles, and he could be there in 5 minutes. And I'll tell you what, because he's so close, I'll go ahead and waive the emergency fee." And she goes, "Well, Tommy, I'd love to do that. I really would. But, I've already booked with another company." And I said, well, how about I call ABC Garage Doors and I cancel for you, and I get my guy there in 5 minutes? And she starts laughing, and she goes, "Tommy, I really like you a lot." She goes, "I'll tell you what, why don't I see what I could do? I'll call you back in 5 minutes." And I look through the call center. There's about 15 people, and we're all on our hands, on our tippy toes waiting. And I'm like, man, this lady's not going to call. 5 minutes later, she calls, and man, I'm on that phone like white on rice. And I'm like, "Hey, Miss Jones, how are you?" I saw the caller ID. And she goes, "Tommy, we're going to go with you." And I ran through the call center, high-fived everybody, went back to the phone, and I said, "Awesome, let me get you one of my amazing CSRs. I'll get you back to Rebecca. We'll book the phone call. Charles is going to take excellent care of you." Everybody knew there that we fight for business. We don't just let it go. I mean, we make stuff happen. It was an amazing feeling, but more importantly, the respect level changed with everybody that watched that happen. And I want to fight to get each and every client that we get. I think it's important that we take care of as many people as possible and do whatever we can to bend over backwards to make their day and make their garage door safe and functional.
So you were modeling good storytelling and selling and what you really believe in, and that is that personal connection and service. Had you ever have, and with 600 people, this must have gone down, where you bring in a new recruit, new employee, and they come in and you're really excited about them, and then you start trying to share with them this power of story in the work you do, and they maybe push back a little bit. Like, come on, Tommy, that's, I don't really have time for that sort of woo-woo stuff. I just need to go out and do my job. Have you had that? And then how do you help them overcome that? How do you help them, the skeptic, see the power of story in your work?
Well, success leaves clues. What we do here is we believe in recruiting properly, orienting, training, and then retaining. So we really make sure it's the right person. We do a thing called predictive predict, and it's a personality profiling that's got a 76 correlation to their success. So the first thing is pick the right people. We interview over 100 people to find one. And then we do ride-along forms, and we teach DISC assessments, and we tell them how to deal with certain people. Certain people, like high Ds, they don't want to hear a story. They're on the phone doing a business deal, and they're like, tell me what I need. But high Is, they want to hear stories. High S's want to hear stories. And C's, they want to, I get them on the ladder. I'm having them, they're engineers. They got a pen in their pocket. They've maintained their garage door themselves. And I'm like, oh my gosh, have you been maintaining this door? You're doing an amazing job. Listen, why don't I get you on the ladder and you tell me if you think we need to replace this? Let me explain to you how this works. And so I don't think a one size fits all really works, but I do love to tell stories and I love to ask questions. There's a lot of stories we share. And I tell the guys, though, you got to be passionate about your stories. You got to really enjoy it. And the fact is that I had a lot of coaches, and we don't have any managers here. We have coaches. And we believe in just helping people find their true passion. But ultimately, if we pick the right people, we role play a lot here. I know role playing is a weird word, and a lot of people don't do it. But when I played football, we used to do these things called two-a-days, where we practiced twice a day for 6 days a week to play one game. So 12 practice sessions for 3 hours a day, twice a day, to play a 2-hour game. And I tell the story, and I'm like, listen, I had a coach, Mr. Dollinar, and he was also my gym teacher. And what he used to do is he used to give us a one-sheet piece of paper, and it was how to play the game. And we learned every game out there, from volleyball to football to baseball, but we knew how to keep score. We knew there was 9 innings in a baseball game. We knew there was 4 quarters in a football game. We learned all the positions. And he taught us how to play the game. And the next 2 weeks, we'd play that game. And so we decided to build manuals. And the manuals were exactly how to play the game, how you get to win. And then we got key performance indicators, which are the scoreboard. And it tells you how you're doing at all times. You know how to win. You know exactly what is going on in your position. And you could go home and tell your wife and husband exactly how you play the game, how you win, and it should be simple. And so we really believe that people need to come in, they need to understand the game, and they need to know how to win. Not everybody's the same, but we love telling stories. I had a client, and I'll tell this story when I'm in a garage. I had Miss Jones or whoever, and she decided to not get the rollers done. And I just want to show you the difference between our rollers here. Unfortunately, 2 weeks later, who calls? Of course, Miss Jones. And it was really not a great story because her door was cockeyed. It literally came out of the rails at the worst time. And, of course, we were able to take care of it. We needed 2 technicians to get the door back on track and get it all fixed. But when we tell these stories, we show pictures, we show videos, we animate it. It's amazing what happens when people hear a great story and they understand it. It applies to them. And so I don't think every story is created equal. We try to get, if you're a homeowner with kids, we try to get somebody with kids out there that could really relate. The storytelling is amazing because people remember stories. They're not going to remember how much they paid. They're not going to really remember exactly what you did, but they'll remember the way you made them feel. And if you make them feel like they're the only person in the world and they're special and you relate to them, it's amazing. People will recognize me from 10 years ago and say, oh my gosh, Tommy Mello, I see your trucks. I'll never forget the time we spent in the garage together. I mean, half the time they want to offer me dinner. They want me to come over for Thanksgiving or Easter. It's a really special feeling because it's a connection that people feel that they'll never forget.
Yeah, and again, it's an interesting connection in an interesting industry that you just wouldn't anticipate. So it's got to give you and your people a decided edge in the world. You're demonstrating that. Do you teach your people storytelling techniques? Or is it just more about giving them permission to go out and tell the story the way you want to tell it?
I do an orientation for 5 hours. And I do it to all the technicians, CSRs, and dispatchers. I tell the story about my mom answering the phone to the people that handle the phone calls quite a bit. When I'm doing the orientation, I've got a slide with a picture on it. And I tell them most founders and entrepreneurs have ADHD. And I'm one of them. So I have to channel my focus. And I say, I've never been to the Kentucky Derby, but that's one of my goals. And I say, if you guys ever been to a horse race, they have blinders on for the horses. And they can see right what's in front of them, but they need to stay focused. That stadium is very loud.